Welcome to the Flying S Podcast, bringing City Hall to your headphones. Your go-to source for community news, events, and stories straight from your local Sidney government. I'm Brittany King.
And I'm Andrew Bowser. And every other Friday, we'll bring you what's happening in our hometown and local government. Fast, factual, and focused. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Flying S Podcast. This is our inaugural episode, live from the pods.
The podcast from the pods.
Yes. I'm City Manager Andrew Bowser, and joined with me is...
I'm the Communications Manager, Brittany King.
Awesome. So we're here today. This is a brand new medium that we have to usher news and information out to the general public. I think this is an exciting time. We have all this technology at our fingertips. We feel like this is going to be a great way to reach more of our constituents and push out all of the fast, factual, and focused information.
Yeah, so, we really want to take what we're seeing online and hear your questions and answer those during this podcast. It's a communication between all of us and really a conversation where you can write in your own questions and we'll answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we get a slew of different questions and comments, whether it's on social media or whether we're just meeting people out on the street or in the public. And I think this is another great way to be able to answer those and for those to kind of continue to live on. So let's just get into it, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets their news a little bit differently. Whether you get from a newspaper, which we understand is still a dying medium, but we enjoy it. And I think that some people get it from social media. I caution about exactly where you get your news from. We feel like this is going to be a great way for individuals to kind of link back and look back, or when somebody is an active listener, maybe to the podcast or at least segments of the podcast, they can tell their friends and family, oh, hey, they did a whole episode on Parks and Rec and all the programming for the summer, which is episode number 2.
Yeah, Dwayne Geyer will be on with us.
Yeah, and we'll do one about streets and all different sort of departments. It won't just be us, right?
Right. We'll have other partners from the community into Sidney Alive, the Chamber.
Right. Emergency management, the county. So I think we're going to bring you a wide variety of different information. We'll talk about current topics, things that are happening events-wise within the community, as well as sort of programming throughout the year.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the pods.
Yeah, we're officially in the pods now.
We are officially in the pods. Today, Monday, that when we recorded this was the first day of fully operational within the pods. We've spent the last couple of weeks moving. We've spent the last probably 6 months planning this move. And then 15 years prior, we've been actually talking about the reconstruction and remodeling of City Hall. And that's kind of where this came from. I think that, kind of past administrations, we've talked about it. We've applied dollars through the planning, but it's just continued to just bypass and continued to kick the can further and further down the road. And I'm happy that we're able to make it happen, put dollars and cents where it was needed to without levying additional taxes and make this happen.
Yeah, and, once the building is finished, it'll be so much more conducive for all of our customers coming in.
Yeah.
And
right now it's not ADA accessible. There is failing infrastructure. There is cockroaches. There's not hot water.
Yeah, it's falling apart very rapidly.
It's falling apart. I mean, the original section was built in 1939, and it wasn't built as a full city hall. There was a court, there was a police station, a fire station, all kind of built in. And we've kind of makeshifted all around. Half the building is basically a garage. It didn't really make a lot of sense, to service the residents. It's not just utility building and the water department. We've got 50, 60 staff members that actually call City Hall home during the 8 hours that they're here with us. And we want to make sure that it's a nice environment, not only for them to be able to work, but also for the residents that are interacting with us on a daily basis. And so we need to make sure that we're doing that. We talked through this, but if we were to stay in the existing building and not do one additional thing, this year alone, we'd have to spend $4 million in just infrastructure upgrades.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
It is a big number. And that's just to keep it the way that it is. And that's because HVAC is expensive. New plumbing is expensive. All these things, but it doesn't change the layout. And it certainly doesn't make it more user-friendly to the general public. We've got an elevator that's failing that's in there. We've actually had to change locations of city council meetings because we did not have ADA accessibility within the building. And only about a half of it is actually accessible. The other half is not. And for us, okay, we needed a shift more towards a focus. The city doesn't build or house buildings to last, 15, 20 years. We're building buildings that are going to be multi-generational. And the bare minimum when we go to do something is for something to last 50 years.
Well, and to set the future administration up for success so that, they're not stuck in the same situation that we're stuck in.
Yeah.
Having roommates that are cockroaches.
Yes. And I think I can't stress enough of the planning that has went into this. Just after I came on board, we've spent basically since year one of my administration planning and figuring this out, working with city council and moving forward to make this happen. But 15 years has went by to try to make this happen. And kind of the buck stopped with us.
And I'm glad that we're finally doing it. But, one of the questions that I see a lot on Facebook is why we chose the pods. And I know, Andrew, you looked at various different avenues that we can take in order to rehome us during this time. Why don't you talk a little bit more about why you chose to put us in the pods versus moving us to another location?
Yeah, great question. So we looked at a variety of different avenues of where we could place the temporary offices for the city while we were under reconstruction remodeling. We looked at various buildings, maybe other sites where we could put something up, but Sidney doesn't have a lot of Class A office or what I would say office sort of facilities. And what is there is either in really bad shape and it needs to be renovated. So now we're talking about additional dollars that we're going to have to pay to go and renovate. We can't just work out of anywhere, right? There are rules and processes and programs that we've got to place to make the city or the government function work. And you can't just place it anywhere. And there were a couple that we looked at, but they were going to require a lot of money to renovate. And now we're renovating two separate buildings at the same time, and that didn't make any sense. Plus, and here's kind of the biggest, I think, key focus is every single time that we move away from this existing building, we have, not only do we have to change the address, right? And
yeah. And I mean, that's just a nightmare for everybody.
Yeah, a huge nightmare.
Including the community.
Yeah, and maybe most importantly, the community, right? It's very confusing. We would then have to spend a ton of dollars on changing our branding and all of our mailers and where our Dropbox is located, where you're going to have to interface with us as the community. When you go to pay your utility bill, if you send in a check in the mail or you're going to go drop off, now everything is having to change. And that's a pretty decent undertaking, and that didn't make a whole lot of sense. The other thing is the infrastructure. So most of the city, all of our services, our computers, even what we're talking on right now is all server-based, and we house everything here in-house. In fact, actually,
it's not just us.
It's not just us. Yeah, our information technology team, or IT team, is absolutely great, and they also operate for the entire county. Right, so they're housed here in the city. They're city employees, but they also co-locate, and we contract out for all the accounting. So our server infrastructure is based here in City Hall. It coordinates with our police department, with the fire department, health department. So we're on this civic campus, if you will. The courthouse is just around the way, and the annex building where the county is. So we're all co-located here in the downtown. every single time that we move further away from that infrastructure and we have to drop new fiber line, it's $1 million per mile every single time that we move out. Now, if we go to spend that money, that is atrocious, and that is not being fiscally conservative.
Right. And then everyone would have a right to be mad about how we're spending that money.
Yeah.
So how much are the pods costing us compared to, you know, like you just said, moving the infrastructure to a different building or renovating a different building? What would that cost comparison be?
Yeah. Let's just say that the pods, we were looking at potentially relocating over to the Amos Press building out near Cargill. They had some empty space. It was going to take 3 miles of fiber for us to relocate out to that area. Plus, we were going to have to do some renovations and things like that. This cost is about a third of the cost of what that would be.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And you can find us, right? We're just literally located right out in front of City Hall. We're right in the middle of the street. The reason why we chose the street, number one, the street is flat-ish, right? It can withstand extreme heavy loads and conditions where like a parking lot wouldn't. We actually looked at potentially locating in the health department parking lot that we co-own with the county. But then we're taking parking spaces, right? And so we've decided to locate it here on the street. We'll build it right in front of City Hall. We can watch the remodeling and reconstruction, so we're right next to the action. So us overseeing the project is really important to us. Now we're located right here, but also we still have all the adjacent parking still here. Poplar Street really wasn't utilized all that well. It wasn't a major thoroughfare outside of our own employees. And so everybody's kind of gotten used to it over the last several months since these have been constructed right here in the middle of the street.
Yeah, and I know that there's been a lot of questions out there. You know, we've heard some crazy rumors, but I do think that these are kind of fun to be in. And I feel like for the employees in general, I think it'll be fun for us to get to know each other a little bit more since we're in such close quarters now.
Yeah, huge kudos to everybody that helped. Pretty much all the departments kind of pitched in and helped, and there was really some standout individuals that really kind of led the way to kind of make this happen. So just very appreciative of all those individuals and just everyone having to deal with change because change isn't easy. And
right.
I wish we didn't have to spend money on things like this and allocate to other things, but it was necessary.
Speaking of change, really quickly, we should mention that the hours changed.
Yes, with the relocation of the pods, we had to align some hours more strategically. So our operating hours will be from 8 to 4 every single day. That didn't come with we didn't just think of that number. We did some studies over the last couple of years of when we interact with the public the most. Most people that do come in either come in during the day to pull a permit or contractors and things like that because it's part of their daily job, or if you're coming in to pay a utility bill. The majority of people either come during their lunch hour or they come in the morning. Most people are working from 9 to 5, and basically what we were doing is we were asking our employees to basically be here for 9 total hours. And just like anybody else that's out there in the general public, where all these manufacturers are thinking of different ways to incentivize their employees and work-life home balance. And this was one way for us to be able to do that.
Well, and I know we all appreciate it with the work-life balance. It's nice having that. The other thing about the pods that people have asked about is the drop box, and we still have the drop box. It's by the front door of the pods, facing the health department, right by a ramp that makes the pods all handicap accessible,
Yes.
ADA accessible, or I guess ADA compliant.
Yes. Yeah. There's actually 2 ramps for the first floor. The second floor is stairs only. But those offices are just the administrative offices, like the backward-facing offices. Everything that's frontward-facing, whether that's Miami County Building, Community Development Department, Revenue Collections, those are all on the first floor, and there's 2 ramps either on the side, and you can either park here along Poplar on the west side of our building, or on the north side of our building in the health department parking lot. We're going to leave the Connex out here for safety purposes. They'll get the rest of the equipment out of the way and things like that, and it'll be much easier to get in and out. And now you won't have to walk around the pods. You'll be able to walk right into the pods. So it should make things a bit easier for the general public to interact with us than it has been for the last couple of months. And some of the waiting game was we wanted to get past tax season with so many people coming in and out, and for us having to move the files and the storage. And so now that we're here, we'll be here for the next probably 24 months, and then we'll be relocating back to City Hall.
Yeah, and if anyone has any issues like getting into the building or anything, give us a call and we'll definitely come out and help you, help make accommodations. You know, if you can't make it there during open hours, we understand that. Just give us a call.
Yeah, and I think this brings up another great point is everything now is online accessible. So paying all of your utility bills, you can do that online. Pay taxes online. All of these things now you can access from our brand new website. It is very user-friendly. It's also ADA accessible, and Brittany was sort of the project manager overseeing that. So we're really happy about where, you know, kind of the 21st century is ushering into City Hall. So
yeah, that was a really fun project. But yeah, like Andrew said, it's very user-friendly. We have a lot of resources on our website, too. You can sign up for Notify Me, the newsletter, our weekly newsletter that comes from you, Andrew, and we have an alert center for emergencies, but we can go over that more in a whole different episode. But take a look at our website and search around and see what you can find.
I would definitely sign up for the newsletter and some of the Notify Me. And of course, EMA utilizes sort of the alert center, and which is great. But you can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know, if you're getting your news source from Facebook, then link to ours because that's where it's coming direct from the source.
Yeah, and I answer the private messages on Facebook too. So if you have a question that you don't want to put like in our comments section, just send me a direct message and I'll try to get you an answer.
Yeah, great.
I think the last thing we should talk about is, you know, what's going on in the community quickly. What kind of events are coming up? We have some office closures coming up for Juneteenth. Our offices will be closed that day, but there won't be any delays in waste collection.
Correct. Yep. Also wanted to announce that this past Friday, we sort of cut the ribbon on our new parallel taxiway down at the airport, a $4.6 million project paid almost entirely by FAA grant dollars. It's not a project that the city would have taken on by itself. But now for the pilots that are out there, the users of that, now they can land safely on an over 5,100 foot runway, which allows for jet air traffic. If you've not been out to the airport, it's actually pretty impressive. I know there's not a lot of buildings, but they hope to soon change that. They need hangars like nobody's business. So if you're a pilot that's out there, I would really consider Sidney. So interesting fact, there's only 3 Tier 1 airports in the Miami Valley area.
Wow.
Springfield, Dayton South, and Sidney, Ohio.
Impressive.
It is pretty impressive. There's only one tier above a Tier 1, and that's an international airport, and that would be Dayton International. And, you know, there's just a handful of those, actually, that exist in Ohio. So, you know, I like to tout that because I don't think people kind of quite understand the asset that we have that's actually out there, that's at the airport. And it was a huge undertaking to be able to do that. And most of the upgrades that come from the airport are all funded from federal dollars that we go after and we get grants for. Just to add to that, about 25% of all the revenue that comes in from the city is grant dollars from our city employees doing hard labor and work to go after dollars that are out there so they don't go to another community, but they come here back home.
Right. And grants, you know, help us do all kinds of projects.
Grants, absolutely. Across the board, it's definitely helping pave the way for special projects and programs throughout the community, whether it's like the architectural bridges and historic bridges within the park, stuff like the archways. So those are private donating dollars. So basically another form of a grant.
Yeah, the city didn't pay for any of that or the trash cans and the flower pots that look so nice downtown.
Yes.
that also was not funded by the city.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a great segue to talk about Sidney Alive and all the things that they're having, that they're doing downtown. So, sort of, they're the stewards of those dollars that go towards the archways and the new trash cans and the planters that they've put out. Huge shout out to Crossway Farms, who donated all of the flowers that are inside of the pots. Those actually have water basins, so that's actually their self-watering mechanisms on the inside. $1.6 million was raised for the archways and for some of those. And there's still some dollars left. And there's Sidney Alive, and there's sort of a special city focus group that really kind of meets on a monthly basis to talk about, what to do next and things like that. That kind of brought up sort of 2 weeks ago. They had the Sidney Farmers Market that opened up.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's wonderful. I went to it. It was beautiful weather. The vendors were amazing. My mom bought rhubarb and made herself a rhubarb pie, which was wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. And I got to see you out there, you and Warren, your little babe, and so cute. Yeah. And another successful event from Sidney Alive, the Spring Street Fair and the Farmers Market opening. So huge shout out to their team.
Yeah, definitely. Another partner that does a lot is the Chamber. And through the Chamber, there's YP Connect. They're having a cornhole tournament on June 14th. That's going to be downtown too.
Now, what does YP stand for?
Young Professionals. So YP Connect is a cool group where you can professionally connect with other people around the same age as you, learn things from each other, bounce ideas off of each other, but then also just kind of have fun. These events are really fun. Yeah. I go to some of them. I work with the board and everything. So
how young do you have to be part of the Young Professionals group?
A young professional?
No, there are very young 40-year-olds that are part of the group. I don't think that they really discriminate. I think the goal is it's an additional organization sort of under the Chamber umbrella, and they have the ability to be able to go and meet. And I think if you are young at heart and you are a professional and you're out there working within the community in sort of the greater Shelby County, Miami County area, they want to have you come out and interact.
Yeah, for sure. Some other things we have going on. The Sidney Civic Band is having their concerts on the square June 13th at 7 p.m. Do bring your own lawn chair. They're going to have a swing era band for this performance, which is neat.
Yeah. You like a little jazz, little swing?
Yeah, I would love to learn how. I used to swing dance, so I would love to learn how to swing dance as an older person.
There you go. Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to mention was our parks department. Their summer recreation programs have started. There's the lunch programs. There's, the pool is open. They have free swim lessons going on. We'll talk more about those at our next episode because we'll have Dwayne in and he'll talk more in depth about what programs they have available for all sorts of different ages.
Yeah, I think that's great. Excited to have Dwayne and so many more guests to talk about more specific topics.
Yeah, well, I don't think I have anything else. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, I think it's great. We're really happy to have you. Try to grab your sources from a reputable source. Hopefully, you'll find that this is informative. I think based on the feedback that we get from the listeners and from the community, we will shift and kind of navigate this. Obviously, this is the first time we've ever done this, and we will make sure that this is the podcast that you need and want within our community.
Yeah. And again, answer the questions that you all have directly from the source. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening. And don't forget to subscribe, submit a question, and follow us on social media. Until next time, bye.
Bye.